Hey, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're a new viewer, hi, my name's Michelle. Thank you so much for coming by to hang out today. So for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all of my favorite brushes. So recently in a video that I did, I asked you guys if you wanted to see that, and most of you all said yes, you wanted to see a brush video. So this is something that I've actually filmed before, and the footage wasn't usable, so I couldn't upload the video. But I really wanted to get this video uploaded for you guys in case you all are looking for good brushes. I have quite the pile sitting in front of me right now. So I have a lot of specific brushes for very specific tasks, and that might be all I use that brush for. So I just want to share with you all of the brushes that I use pretty much anytime I'm doing my makeup and what I use them for. So if you've been excited to see what my favorite brushes are, make sure you stick around. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button yet, but you like makeup and beauty content, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button before leaving. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss all my future uploads. Let's get into my favorite brushes. Okay, let's kick this off with face brushes. I have probably like 10 face brushes I want to share with you. Actually, before we jump into brushes, and I said this in my last favorite brushes video, which was a long time ago, and I hadn't tried nearly as many brushes as I have now, so that video is super outdated. But I also mentioned the Beauty Blender. Even though it's not a brush, I use a Beauty Blender primarily for blending concealer out underneath my eyes. I don't use a brush for that. And I usually use a dry Beauty Blender. Yes, I know you're supposed to wet it, but I like using a dry Beauty Blender because I feel like it really keeps the coverage. When you wet a sponge, it shears the coverage out just a little bit. Maybe not a whole lot, but I feel like it shears it out a little bit. So by keeping my sponge dry, it keeps the coverage, which your girl needs all the coverage underneath the eyes. Okay, now let's get into the brushes. So the first brush that I'm going to share with you is one that I fell in love with last year, and I use it just about in every video, or every video for the last like 6 months. This is the IT Cosmetics Love is the Foundation brush. I love this brush. This brush just does such a great job blending out foundation, and I don't know what it is about it because I've used plenty of foundation brushes before, but this one just does a fantastic job, and I can't stop using it. So I almost hate to recommend this brush to you guys because it's not one that you can get all the time. I don't even know what month of the year they offer this, but it's like 1 month out of the year they offer it at Ulta and then it's gone, which to me is just crazy. They should offer it all year long because so many people love this brush. I'm sorry, but y'all wanted to know what my favorite brushes are. This is one of my favorite brushes. The next brush that I want to share with you is one that I've had for a very long time, probably late 2018 or so. Still in very good shape, and I still use it all the time. This is the Sigma Large Angled Contour Brush. This is the F40. And the reason why I really like this brush is because you can use it for several different things. So it's nice and dense up top, but also kind of fluffy. So this is a really good contour brush, as it suggests. Or you can use it as a bronzer brush, which is typically what I use it for. You can use it as a blush brush if you like to use, something a little bit more dense for your blush. You can use it for any of those things. But again, I typically use it for my bronzer, and it does a really good job applying bronzer. Okay, the next brush that I'm going to share with you is one that I also picked up quite a long time ago, and I've been loving on ever since I grabbed it. This one is from e.l.f. This is their 103 brush. I don't know if they still sell it separately, but I think this is part of a collection. And it's just, I don't know if it's like I'm assuming a powder brush, foundation. You could probably use it for foundation too. It's kind of angled like the BK Beauty 101 brush, actually. So I'm assuming you could probably use this for foundation as well, but I really enjoy using this as a powder foundation brush or just a loose setting powder type of brush. I'll really get in there because it's nice and dense up top and it's angled. I'll dip into the powder, kind of heavy, and then I like to pack it on with this brush. And I've used it that way ever since I got this. And it's super inexpensive. It's e.l.f. So if you're looking for a good brush for that purpose, you can't go wrong with this brush, and I don't know if they still offer it. I'm going to really try to link all of these down below in case you're interested in finding any of them. Just know the ones that are affiliate links will have an asterisk next to them, which means if it's affiliated, I will make a small commission off of that purchase if you decide to purchase some of these brushes in that way. Don't feel obligated to. Obviously, you don't have to. You can Google the products on your own and buy them that way. Regardless, it won't cost you any more money if you do click on my links and purchase it that way. But either way, I'll link them so you guys can find them. If it's still available, it'll be down in the description box. I love that brush. The next brush that I'm going to share with you is one that I didn't really seek out. It made its way to me, I think it had to have been in an Ipsy bag because this is from an Ipsy-owned brand. This is from Complex Culture, and this is their all-over highlight brush. And it does just that. It highlights really well. It's got a nice, fluffy kind of head on it. It's nice and, medium-sized. But, I mean, it's a highlighter brush, I don't like for my highlighter brushes to be too dense because I feel like they just put way too much highlight on the skin. For instance, this brush that I have from Royal and Langnickel, it's just a little bit too dense up, like too stiff up top compared to my Complex Culture brush. See how this one's just a little bit more like floofy? This one's just a little bit more stiff, a little bit more dense. I feel like when I use this, I just get a little bit too much pigment as opposed to this. Keeps it a little bit more light and airy, and I can blend it a little bit better. Personal preference, but I really like this brush. And I think the only place you can buy it is on Ipsy, unless they've changed it since then. It's been a long time since I've received this. But that's the only highlight brush I really use, so I wanted to mention it. The next brush that I'm going to share with you is a blush brush that I use pretty much every time I do my blush now. This is the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill JH6 brush. None of these should really be a surprise to you guys. If you watch my videos, well, if you watch a lot of my videos, let me put it that way. If you're just now stumbling across my channel, then obviously these are all going to be a surprise to you. But if you're somebody that's been here for a little while, you've heard me mention these over and over and over again because I use them all the time. And this blush brush I use every time I do my blush. Unless it's a blush that's not very pigmented and I need to really build up the color, I wouldn't recommend this for that. This brush is good if you have a very pigmented blush, if you have a blush that's like a cream. It's just really floofy up top, so when you dip in there, you're not getting like a pound of pigment on the brush. It's just enough to go in and get some payoff on the cheeks. And I like to be able to build it up. I don't want to go in one time and then do one of these numbers and then have a stripe across my cheek. That's not the end goal here. So this brush is really good for just, I would say, controlling the amount of pigment that you put on your cheeks. And you can tell how much I love this brush. I don't know if y'all can tell, but it is a little beat up. It's like missing hairs over here and they're starting to break off. I think this is a natural hair brush. And yeah, it's looking ratchet. So I'm probably going to have to order another one of these soon. But I love this brush. I really do. The next brush that I'm going to share with you is also from Morphe. This is their M438. The only thing that I use this brush for is setting my under eyes. That's it. I like it for that because of the shape of it. It just fits right in that pocket, like perfectly. Like, look. That's it. I don't always set my under eyes, but when I do, it's this one. Morphe M438. The next brush I'm sharing with you is the Luxie Precision Foundation Brush. This is their 660. And I don't use this for foundation. I'm sure you could. This one would probably work well for foundation. Actually, maybe I should give that a try sometime. I actually like using this as a contour brush because of its tapered head. It fits really nicely right in that pocket. Like if I get product right here on the tip of it, I'll go right in like this and I'll contour with it. That's all I use this brush for. Oh, that's a lie. Sometimes I might use it for bronzer. And if I do, I just use it for bronzer on the forehead because I like laying it flat and doing like this. And I believe I got this in a Boxy Luxe a long time ago. Luxie is one of those brands where I've found a couple of brushes that I really love from them, but I think they're overpriced. And I don't know that I would really recommend you all go out and grab this just because they're nice, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they're a little overpriced for what they are. So be that as it may, if you're looking for a good contour brush and price is no option for you, you don't care about that, then that's up to you. But I'm sure you could probably find a more affordable brush that does the exact same thing. But this is just what I use for contour powders, I should say. And one more Luxie brush. This is their eye shading brush. It's the 213. But I don't use it for eye shading. I only use this to contour my nose. I like it for contouring because it's got a tapered head on it and it's small. I don't want something that's too how do I want to put this? Let me just like show you. I wouldn't use something like this for contouring. See how it's like flat and it's too dense up top, like too stiff? Because I feel like you would more than likely remove the foundation underneath if you tried to contour with this, and it would be too thin of a line. So I couldn't use that. But this one's just fluffy enough. It has kind of that pinched head on there, so I can really get that line, and then I can turn it sideways and blend it out. And I use it every time I contour my nose. So again, I'm sure you can find a cheaper brush to do the exact same thing. So it's not like I'm not really recommending you guys go out and grab this, but I have to mention it because I use it every time I contour my nose. Now, just a little forewarning here. I fell in love with Sooooo G brushes last year. Actually, bougie brushes in general I fell in love with last year. I didn't really understand like the difference. I always said, oh, you know, it's just brushes. Like it doesn't matter. They all do the same thing. I'm here to tell you, when it comes to eye brushes, I beg to differ. I've used lots of different brands of eye brushes, and I fell head over heels for Sooooo G brushes last year, and I don't know if I can ever go back. Like, I use other brands for specific things, but when it comes to like blending brushes, the bougie brushes are where it's at. We do have 3 more face brushes though. So this one is from Chikuhodo. It's the GSN5. I've also mentioned this on my channel a bunch. This also has, well, I would say 2 uses. 2? Can't count. I would say contouring. So again, it's got that tapered head, and it's also like fluffy here. So what I would do is put a little bit on that tapered end. I would get a little bit of a line going, and then I would blend up with the flat edge. I also like using this for like a cream blush. If I don't want to use my fingers to pat it out, I can use this brush, and it does a good job blending, just patting it in. I wouldn't really swipe with it because, I don't know, I just wouldn't. I would use this more like tapping it in. That's how I've always done it with my cream bronzer or my cream contour, and I really, really love this brush for that. So the next 2 face brushes are Sooooo G brushes, and I use them a lot. Just about every time I do my makeup. This one specifically I do use every time. This is her Cheek Pro Brush. And this one is just really fluffy up top, but it's also like semi-dense. I use this one for powder contour and powder bronzers. It's weird because usually I would go in with something like the Sigma brush, which is fluffier, a little bit bigger. But when I ordered this and I started using it for contouring and for bronzer, I liked that it was a little bit more compact. It's a little smaller. I don't know what it is. It's just about, you know, blending in little circular motions. I feel like I can really get a good blend with this, or I can really buff out well with this. So that's what I like it for, and I use it all the time. And then the last of the face brushes is the Sooooo G Face Pro. And this is a very pricey brush, so if you're not willing to spend a bunch of money on brushes, or, you know, you think that luxury brushes are a sham, they're not worth it, then by all means do not buy this brush because it's expensive. But again, I fell and cracked my head last year and I spent money I shouldn't have, so that's why this bad boy's in my collection. However, I love her with all my heart. It is a natural hair brush, and it just does such a great job buffing out like powders, loose powders, powder foundation. I like that it's so large, it's fluffy, it's so soft. So I use this a lot for usually setting powders, buffing setting powders all over. Now let's get into the eye brushes. I have a lot, so I'm going to try really hard not to talk too much about them. But these are all my children, so I'm going to try to be fair and show them all some love. Okay, let's start off with affordable brushes first, and we'll end this video with a bang with the more luxury brushes that I have for eyes. So the first brush that I want to share with you is the Sigma F75. This is a concealer brush that has cat hair in it. That's nice. I really like this. I don't use it as like a regular concealer brush. I only use this to put P. Louise base on my lids. But it does such a great job at that. So the reason why I say P. Louise base is it's a very kind of tacky, thick consistency. And I don't like using my finger just because I feel like I can't blend it very well that way. But with this brush, it just covers so much ground. Plus, I like the fact that it's domed up here, so I can get, if I've already got the brows done, I can get right up underneath the brow without totally screwing it up. And I just really love this brush. It just does a fantastic job laying down concealer. If you're somebody that likes using concealer under the eyes, you might like this for that as well. So again, a very specific use for this brush, but I had to mention it because I use it all the time. The next brush I'm sharing with you, I think this is, this is from Crown Brushes. I got this, I don't know if it was in a BoxyCharm or I don't know where the hell this brush came from. I didn't buy it, so it came to me somehow in a subscription box at some point. This is their SS33. It's the mini smudger. And the reason why I really like this brush, see how, first of all, how tiny this is? And it's got a really nice, like, half circle shape to it. So this is really good for a couple things. One, if you want to clean up your brows, like you can really get precise with cleaning up your brows with this brush, but you can also get really precise if you're doing a cut crease and you've already kind of mapped out the, like semi-mapped out the shape of the half cut crease or full cut crease, whatever. This is really good for getting that defined line and making it really nice and smooth looking and sharp. I would use something really small like this to do that with. So, because if I tried to use like the Sigma concealer brush, it's too dense up top. This is really pinched up here and very thin and very like clean cut. So that's what I like using this for mainly, is cleaning up the brows and cleaning up the cut crease shape when I do those. The next brush I'm sharing with you is a Morphe M124. Now this one, couple of uses. For one, I like using this to lay down like glitter pigments. I'll dip this in a little bit of my like NYX Multitasker Mixie Medium or the NYX Glitter Primer or whatever you want to call it. And then I'll put that on the eye and then I'll dip it into whatever pigment that I'm using, glitter pigment. And it just does a really good job using it for that purpose. I also use this to do cut creases with because of the way it's shaped. It's got that domed shape up top. It's not too dense. It's like just dense enough. But it works really well for those reasons, so that's why I love it. The next brush, same exact thing. I like using it for glitter pigments, laying down that glitter glue, using it for the cut crease shapes. This is the Morphe M421. It's pretty similar. Actually, when I was picking out brushes, I thought it was the same exact brush, but it's not. The difference is that this one, the one I'm showing you now, right here, is just a little bit more like domed. This one's got like almost like a flat top and then it's domed. This one's domed all the way around. So it just depends on what you're using them for. Again, very specific purposes for my brushes, but I love them. Next up in here is the Morphe M213. You'll notice a trend. I do use a lot of Morphe brushes for precision work because they're inexpensive and they do a good job. And I'm just letting it all hang out. That's the truth. So, and I've had them forever. These aren't brushes that I bought anytime recently. I bought these brushes probably 2 years ago and they've been going strong ever since. So for the Morphe M213, this is another one of those brushes that's really tiny. Obviously you can see that. A couple things I like to use this for. One, I use it for the brow bone highlight just because it fits right up. Actually, I used it for today for my brow bone highlight. It just fits right up underneath there perfectly. And it's a little, I don't want to say it's fluffy. By all means, this is not a fluffy brush. But it's not like, it's not totally flat. There is a little bit of density to it. A little bit of fluff. Barely. But it works really well getting right up underneath your brow. So I use it for that. And then sometimes I might use it for my inner corner highlight because it just fits perfectly. Right there. Love this brush. The next brush I'm sharing with you is an absolute staple. This is a brush that I use to pack on pigment on this lower lash line, like the first color I'll go in with when I'm doing my lower lash line work. This is the Sigma small angle brush. It's the E65 and it's an angled brush. So I'm sure you could use this for a lot of different things. You could probably use this for, I don't know about liner because it's a little thick up top for liner. I mean, I guess you could. This would work really well using it to put not a wing, but stamping color on the top lid. I guess you could do a wing with it with shadow. I know I've done that before, not too many times, but I have used it for that. But typically, it's getting that color on that lower lash line, stamping it on really nicely. It keeps the color nice and pigmented. It just fits really nice under there. It's slanted, so it feels right. Always use this brush for that purpose. Every time I do lower lash line work, this is the brush I'm using. The next brush that I use on my lower lash line to blend out that first shade and then to dip into the second shade is the Sigma pencil brush. This is the E30. And it just is what it is. It's a pencil brush. It's very pointed up top. It can feel a little harsh going underneath the lash line, but I like it because it blends out that first shade as well, and it just makes it look more seamless. So again, I use it every time I do my lower lash line. All right, this next one is the Sigma Winged Liner Brush. It's the E06. Had to look, it's tiny. So I really, really like this one. Actually, I bought this one specifically to be able to use it with dip brow pomade or just pomade in general, eyebrow pomades. I don't do winged liner because I've got extremely hooded eyes and it's just not a good idea for me. So I bought this to do those little hair strokes because it's so, like, look how pointed and how tiny this little brush head is. And it works fabulously for that. That's actually what I used today. So the little bit of hair strokes that you see here, we're done with this brush. And it just does a fabulous job at that. And I've been using it like that, you know, whenever I do brows like this, where I'm using a pomade, or, I mean, I can even use this if I wet a little bit of shadow. It just works well that way. Okay, these next two brushes I discovered quite a long time ago, but I totally fell in love with them because of the size. So when it comes to blending shadow on hooded eyes, it's important to find brushes that are small enough to fit into your eye shape. If I go, okay, when I first got into makeup, I was using brushes about this size. So this one is a Morphe and Jaclyn Hill JH32. Now, if I use this to blend out shadow on my eyes, look at this. There's going to be shadow from here up to my eyebrow and it's going to look horrible. I didn't realize I was doing that, okay? When I first got into makeup, I just was blending everywhere. And I'm not saying I'm like the master blender now, but I'm a lot more proud of my makeup looks now as opposed to when I first started. So obviously my technique has evolved just a little bit. But these brushes are really fantastic because of how tiny the little tips are here. So this is the M507 and then we have the M506. So when you look at them side by side, one's just a little bit fluffier than the other. This one here is the 507, 506. So this one's pointed, this one's fluffier. And again, if I want to get right up here in this pocket and just blend a little bit, it's perfect for that. So whenever I have people ask me like, what brushes would you recommend for hooded eyes? These would be two of the main brushes that I would recommend for hooded eyes. They work beautifully. All right, the next two brushes I'm going to share with you, I do specifically for cut creases. And if you've watched any of my recent videos with the BH Cosmetics Sweet Shop collection, you've probably seen me use these brushes because I was creating that shape. I have the Morphe E36, which is a pencil brush. It's domed, it's dense, does really fantastic, just packing that color on. And then I also have the Morphe E18, which is just a bigger version of the E36. And same thing, I get right up in that like socket area, I pack that pigment on, and it just does an incredible job. Just does an incredible job, I love them. Okay, the next two brushes are from two different brands, but they look almost identical. Almost. So the first one is the E36 from Sigma. It is a blending brush. It has kind of longer hairs on it here. It's a little fluffy. It's not too dense. It's like floofier. So the reason why I love this brush is when I'm looking for that really diffused type of blend, say when I'm blending on the very outside of a cut crease eye look, when I'm blending down here underneath my lower lash line work, because I use it for that too. This brush does such a great job for those few reasons. And I love it so much I already have a backup of this Sigma brush. So the brush that kind of dupes that one is the Morphe M562. And I'll put them side by side here. So if you look at them like this, they look almost identical. The Morphe brush is just not as beat up as my Sigma brush because I use the Sigma brush more. I like the bristles on the Sigma brush a little bit better because they're probably just because they're more worn in. I've used it a lot more. But either one of these would do. If you're looking for a more affordable option and you're okay with buying from Morphe, buy the Morphe brush. I love these brushes and I couldn't live without them in my collection because I use them for those specific purposes. So the next two I'm sharing with you are from Refer. This is their number 13 and it's a fluffy but kind of stiff, smaller brush. So this kind of reminds me of like one of the Morphe brushes, right? Just the way it's shaped, how small it is. The only difference is the Morphe brushes, the bristles are not as stiff. These are a little more stiff. So I have to be doing a certain kind of look if I'm going to be using the rougher brushes. Otherwise, it's just a little too stiff for my liking. Maybe I need to use them more. I don't know. But I do still love it. It does a fantastic job. And when I need it for that specific look, I use it for that. The other one is the number 14, and it's just a bigger version of the number 13. So as you can see, this one is really tapered up top. It's a little bit more fluffy than the 13, and they're good brushes. If you have a chance to buy rougher brushes, I think they're good quality, and I really want to get some more, but I'm going to pump the brakes on the brushes for right now. I'm not going to buy any more because I don't need them, but these are fantastic. All right, I have 6 more brushes to share with you. They're all Sooooo G. As I said earlier, I kind of went all out and bought a lot of Sooooo G brushes last year, so I don't absolutely love, like, I don't want to say I don't love all the ones I bought, but I didn't put all of them in this video because the ones I'm going to share with you are the ones that I use non-stop, like constantly. So first up here, again, if you watch my channel, you probably have heard me mention this brush in every single video. This is her Builder Pro brush. And the reason why I really love this is because it's flat and it can really pack on some pigment. Like, it's nice, the bristles are nice and soft, and it lays down a lot of pigment. So when I'm at the point in my eye look where I want to like pack some color on this outer corner, this is the brush that I consistently use for that. It's the brush that I use today. I use it for every eye look. Love this brush. This next brush is kind of like the one I just showed you, but it's fluffier. So this is her Worker Pro, and it's shaped the exact same. The Builder Pro is just a little more flat. The Worker Pro is just a little fluffier. You can kind of tell. So the reason why I like the Worker Pro is if I want to, I don't know if I would necessarily use this just to pack on color. I mean, you can, but I like using it for after I've already used the Builder Pro. I can turn this on its side and really blend what I just laid down, like, heavily. I can blend it into the shade above that, into my crease shade, and this just does a really good job at that, so love it. So the last 4 brushes that I'm going to share with you are blending brushes. These are top of the line. I can't live without them. I'm so glad I stumbled upon them, and I gotta say, if one of them like fell apart tomorrow, I would buy it again in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even think twice. So, you know, my budget would be wrecked a little bit, but I would do it. The first one I'm sharing with you is her Crease Pro brush. Now, this one is tapered up top, and it's a little stiff in comparison to the other ones I'm about to show you, but that's why it's called a Crease Pro, because it fits right into that crease. So I would say after you've already put down a transition shade, when you need that really like a deeper crease shade to go in with and then to blend it out, you can use this to kind of lay it down, and then you can kind of flip it this way to kind of blend it out and up. And it's a fantastic brush. I love it. This next brush is called the Mini Booster. So this one is fantastic for hooded eyes. Actually, I mean, even if you don't have hooded eyes, it's really good for getting right in that socket, right in that crease. And that's what I use it for. So I use the Mini Booster more than I use the Crease Pro, just because I want it to be a little bit more diffused. This one's fluffier up top. It's not so tapered, and it just does a great job. I used it in today's look. The last 2 brushes look very similar. I think one's just a tad bit fluffier than the other. We have the Blender Pro and the Classic Crease, and they both do the same thing. They both blend shadows beautifully into the transition area, the crease area. They buff the shadows out really nicely. They make them look seamless. I love these brushes. I'm so glad I found these brushes last year, and I've used them so much. So I guess I should mention, like, up until last year, I was using, I don't know, like hand soap, conditioner, regular shampoo to cleanse my brushes. And then something tempted me to buy the Cinema Secrets brush cleaner, and that's all I've used on my brushes ever since like the beginning of last year. And I've been cleaning my Sooooo G brushes with the Cinema Secrets since the beginning of last year, and it has not affected, in my opinion, the quality of these brushes at all. They work just as good as they did the first day I bought them. I don't know. I've heard some people say that they're afraid to use it on their natural hair brushes and that they wouldn't use it on those brushes, the expensive brushes. To each their own, but I'm just saying from my experience, it hasn't affected my brushes at all. So that is my favorite pile of brushes. I hope you guys like this video, listening to me rave on and on about my favorite brushes. I know, so exciting, right? But if you are in the market for good brushes, I can't recommend the ones that I shared with you enough. They are all great. It's just all comes down to personal preference. What are you willing to spend? Do you want natural hair? Do you want synthetic? Do you not like certain brands? It just depends. It depends on all of these factors. And like I said before, a lot of these brushes have been in my collection for a very long time. So I use what I like. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please don't forget to give this a big thumbs up. It lets me know that you like it, but it also lets YouTube know that you like it. And it will push this video out there for more people to see, which means more people join our little community. And I'm so grateful when you guys take the time to do that. If you have made it all the way through this video, but you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please don't forget to do that also before leaving. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss my future uploads, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.